Hello, my PBC family and friends. Pastor Brian here again with another quick bite, living the word for us this morning. So last night, I won't lie, I had one of those nights, and I don't know if you experienced these or not, where it's kind of one of those sleepless nights. And I was like, Lord, I know when you're getting my attention like this, it's time for me to spend some time with you. And so I spent some time with the Lord last night, and he gave me, as crazy as it sounds, he gave me the quick bite for this morning for myself, and I want it to be an encouragement for all of you as well this morning. And so, our quick bite this morning comes from this idea of, let me just read to you the text first. Let's start there. A passage you've probably heard before, even if you're not necessarily familiar with the Bible, you've heard somebody quote this passage. It comes from Solomon, the wisest of all men to live, and in his writings in the book of Ecclesiastes. And it's actually how the whole book starts. The whole book starts in there, chapter 1, and verses 1 and 2. And I just want to read this to you if you would. It says, actually, I'm going to go through verse 3, sorry. But anyway, it says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, speaking of Solomon, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? We hear that all the time. We hear people quote that all the time. Vanity of vanities. What does that mean? This is vanities of vanities, and we know what vain means. Most times we actually hear the word vain and we think of the idea of being empty or worthless, right? But this word actually is a little bit different in the Hebrew. The hova it kind of carries with the idea. Well, actually, hold on a second here. Sorry. I love you guys. Don't get me wrong, but all of a sudden my throat was really dry, and you know how important that is to me. So, but. Point being is that it actually has the connotation of being a wind or a breath, or just, if you would, like a gone, right? And so, in other words, the Solomon in his writing in the book of Ecclesiastes is starting out with this idea of everything's just kind of a vapor. It's kind of a wind, right? It really speaks to the idea of what we see in James chapter 4 when he says, what is life? What is your life? It is even but a vapor, which appears for a moment and then vanishes away. And I love the illustration. Whenever I think about that, I always like to think about the illustration as when you're taking a shower and the door is closed and you get out and the mirror is all fogged up, right? You open the door, and it's like within a couple minutes, the mirror's cleared up again. It's like back to its normal state. And this is kind of what he's talking about when he talks about our life. It's just a vapor. It's just something that's here and then it's gone. Now, that can kind of sound depressing if you think about it. But ultimately, here's what he's really driving at here, okay? He's not saying that it doesn't mean life isn't worth it. He's not saying that life isn't beautiful. There aren't beautiful things in life. We're talking about Solomon. Solomon, the wealthiest man of all time. Solomon, who had a plethora of children. Solomon, who had untold wealth. He had food. He had homes. He had all sorts of things. Right? I mean, this is Solomon we're talking about here, and Solomon says, "Hey, all these things, in essence." What does it profit? What good is it? Well, he goes on and basically explains there is good in all of those things. Those things are a beautiful thing to have. But really, in all honesty, they're empty things. They're fleeting things. They're passing away things. They're things that aren't going to last forever. Except, at the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, as a matter of fact, I'm going to issue a challenge for you over the next however long you're home or however much time you have, or just on your daily reading. If you're part of our essential personnel who are out there taking care of our society. Over your reading, I'm going to challenge you to read the book of Ecclesiastes. Start in chapter 1 and read to the end. And at the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, he kind of comes back to that same question where he says, again, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. But here's what he really drives at. He goes, it's not. Because there's something that is not vain. There's something that's not a poof of wind, so to speak. What is not is the chief end of man. As the Westminster Catechism would say, the chief end of man is to love the Lord God and to serve him. And this is where Solomon comes. He says, hey, here's the point. If I am loving God and I'm serving him and I'm instructing my children to do so and all these things, then they are lasting things. That is the lasting thing. The money I have right now is going to be here today, gone tomorrow. My children are going to grow up. They're going to move out. They're going to move on. My home, I may lose my home. I may lose my job. But God is the same. He's always there. He's never leaving us. He's never forsaking us. And so that is where he says that's where the chief end of man, that idea what we get in the Westminster Catechism, that's what the point of this is all about. It's not about, who dies with the most toys wins. It's about he who dies with the most life. wins. And what I mean by that is this: is you can have life eternal, and I hope you have life eternal, and we all have that opportunity, and we have that opportunity right now, and it comes through Jesus Christ. And then you know what's amazing is all those things that we think the world puts such a high stock and value in. You know, having the wealth, having the prestigious jobs, having the goods, the toys, the houses, the popularity, all those things like that. When you make Jesus the focus, the chief end of your life, if I can put it to you that way, when you make him the point, all those other things, you still get them. You still have them. I have a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful home. I have all my needs met. I have a wonderful son. I have a great family in the church and elsewhere. I mean, it's just there's so much. When you make God the chief end of what you're doing, you make Christ the point. All those things are no longer as empty as they feel when you don't know Jesus, because those things that you put so much stock in, you realize they let you down, but God doesn't. So when you put your stock in God, those things that you continue to pour into, you provide for your family, things like this, you work hard for your employer, whatever the case may be, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for the Lord, and there's so much more to have in that. So I just encourage you all this morning. I love you all. I pray that this gave you just a little bit of insight to the idea of here what life is all about. It's not even about the internet. Crazy thought, right? But anyway, it's not about these things. And but all these things can be sweet, beautiful, and definitely not empty if what we're pouring into them is something that's going to last for eternity. So again, I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. I pray everything's going well. Give me a shout out or just shoot me a text or whatever. Let me know how you're doing. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. I love you guys so much. Look forward to when we can get together in person again. God bless you. Bye-bye.